awesome, absolutely awesome.
I love it when a plan comes together. Definitely worth a look. Yeah, it was well on par. Hi everybody, how are we all doing? I hope you're having a good weekend so far. It is Sunday the 10th of November 2013. So, a lot of people have been asking me to do a spoiler-filled review of Thor the Dark World, and I said that, although I didn't actually tell people directly that I would, I did sort of mention it in my review of the latest Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. episode that I did yesterday, that I would be doing a spoiler-filled review, because I did get to see it again yesterday evening with my friend, and definitely stayed behind for the second end credits this time, so which I thought was very cute in some sense, and also had a humorous end to it as well, which was awesome. But yeah, so basically I'm just going to let it all out in this review. Pretty much just let everything get spoiled as such. So if you haven't seen the film, please watch my spoiler-free review as opposed to this one, because I literally will just give everything away. So anyway, so what's the plot of the film? Well, the basic plot of the film is the Dark Elves have re-emerged, they've resurfaced, led by a character by the name of Malekith, who's played by Christopher Eccleston, and he's seeking this liquid type power by the name of ether, and he's going to use it to basically return the 9 realms back to darkness. Every 5,000 years a convergence happens where all the 9 realms align, and then for that brief moment the space between them opens, which will allow for Malekith to then unleash this ether to destroy all the realms and bring the darkness back, put the universe back to darkness. But what we find is that the centre of it is in London, in Greenwich, in London. I really don't like the fact that London keeps getting destroyed in films these days. It's just not fair. So London is like the focal point of the film, and we see Jane Foster on a date. Bless. Darcy comes to tell her about these findings that that's occurring in London. Basically, what's occurred is that various portals have been opened. So if you throw something, it disappears and then it re-emerges in another location. And towards the end of the film, you see this happen quite a lot, because when the convergence starts to happen, it becomes more and more apparent. But what happens to Jane is she gets pulled in by the ether. The ether pulls her into one particular portal, and that's where she sees the ether. She has no idea what it is, what's happened to her. It puts itself into her body. She's no clue of what's happened, until she's almost, well, I wouldn't say she's attacked, but one of the police officers back, when she arrives back in London, 5 hours have passed, Darcy's called the police, Jane's thinking, oh, why have you called the police, blah blah blah, this, that and the other. So when Thor arrives, he realises the reason why Thor arrives is because Heimdall couldn't see her back on Asgard. So when that happens, she then gets transported to Asgard. I don't think this is the first time a mortal has ever shown up on Asgard. So, and for Jane, it was a huge experience to go through the Rainbow Bridge. So for her, she really enjoyed it. She wants to do that again. She meets Odin for the first time, which is quite an interesting meeting, because she's going, "Oh, who are you?" kind of thing, and he goes, "I'm Odin. I'm the All-Father, King of Asgard." And she goes, turns to Thor. You told your dad about me. I was like, yeah, he did. But so much happens through the film, so try not to delve too much into it. Some of the higher points for the film for me, obviously being Loki in particular. Unfortunately, and then obviously Frigga meets her end, which was tragic. For protecting Jane, she gets killed by one of the Cursed, which is, you know, she was defending Jane to the bitter end, and you see the frustration and boil in Thor when he sees his mother get killed, when one of the soldiers tells Loki of what's happened. He also takes it heavily. I mean, I think thing with Frigga, the relationship that Frigga had with Loki isn't the same relationship that Thor and Odin both had with Loki. Knowing that he's adopted, you know, Frigga was still trying to see the good in Loki, was trying to make him understand the bad things that he's done, but he just wasn't going to accept that. But he still took to heart the death of Frigga. He still took it to heart. To which point of when Thor eventually enlists the help of Loki to take down Malekith, and it's amazing. It's great how Malekith actually descends upon Asgard unseen. You even see Heimdall go after one of the ships whilst it's invisible, and to realise what Malekith was up to and what he was after, you then realise that he's after the ether. So Thor then puts two and two together and then thinks, right, well, he's after the ether. Jane's on Asgard. If we take her off planet, if we take her off of Asgard, take her back to the Dark World, you know, there's a high chance that that Malekith will go after the ether, and then when it's exposed, Thor will then destroy it and Malekith at the same time. Odin doesn't think this is a good idea, but Thor goes against everything that Odin has said, even to the point of asking for Heimdall's help, even though the Bifrost has now been closed by Odin. Of course, there's only one person who knows the secret passages of getting off of Asgard, and that is Loki. So it's not just Loki's help he asked for. He also asked for Sif and Thandril, and also Volstagg as well. So all of them are all chipping in. They're all helping. Heimdall gives himself up to Odin, you know, by saying that he's committed treason. But it's also awesome how the relationship, again, you see that tense relationship between Thor and Loki. You know, these are two adopted brothers still going toe to toe with each other. Loki still feels that it's his birthright to be king of the throne, king of Asgard, of which at the beginning of the film you see how Odin responds that your actual birthright was for you to be, you were left for dead on the cold waste of Jotunheim. If Odin had not rescued Loki would be dead. It's that simple. So all this is happening. Then, as I say, they get to the Dark World, and of where the Dark Elves are from, and you see something happen that I actually did not expect. The big twist was between Thor and Loki was to play act in front of Malekith and everybody else into believing that Loki was giving Jane to Malekith. So, but when that actually happened, Malekith eventually takes the ether out of Jane, and at that point it becomes exposed, and that's when Thor shouts out to Loki to do it now. And then Loki cuts off Thor's hand, and you think, oh shit, is this for real? Is he actually doing this? Why is Loki doing this? But then you realise it was all an illusion in the end, and it was to get Malekith to take the ether out of Jane, expose it. Thor destroys it to no avail, because it comes back together, and Malekith takes control of it, puts it inside of him. So he and the ether have joined together. The fight ensues with Loki and Malekith's guards, and then you see Thor going up against the Cursed as well. To which point Loki is killed by the Cursed, and then he's dead. So Loki's dead. Thor is just, he's distraught. He feels bad about what's happened. He even promises Loki that he will tell Odin of his bravery, which Loki responds that he didn't do it for Odin. So when all that happens, eventually Thor and Jane get back to Earth. Erik Selvig is totally lost it. He's really lost the plot, bless him, to the point of where you see news reports of him running around naked in Stonehenge. Darcy and her new intern by the name of Ian go and save go and take Eric out of police custody. They go back to Jane's apartment, and that's when Jane and Loki come back. And there's so much going on. It's difficult to keep up, but once you've kept up with it, you know exactly what's happening. And just throughout the whole movie, as I say, there's so much going on. The humour for me was brilliant, because the humour was spot on, especially from both Eric and from Darcy in particular. You know, Thor had his moments as well, and so did Jane, and especially when Loki disguised himself as Captain America. That for me was absolutely brilliant. That was fantastic. You know, disguising himself as various different characters. He turns Thor into Sif, and then he turns himself into Captain America, and it's just, oh, brilliant, absolutely brilliant. So again, as we're going through, as I say, the final battle scene between Malekith and Thor, and the whole army of dark elves occurring as well, is quite interesting. But for me though, the real focal point was what happened right at the end. We see Odin talking to Thor. You know, Thor's basically saying to Odin that he doesn't want to be king. You know, he wants to be given back his life. That Jane doesn't know that this is what he's come to ask of Odin. You know, Odin believes that it's Jane that's put him up to this, but he assures him that it's nothing to do with Jane whatsoever. That he wants to do good, but he doesn't feel he can make much of an impact sitting on the throne. To which point Odin responds, you know, one son wants the throne too much, the other doesn't want it at all. Is this to be my legacy? And you know, Thor gives Loki credit for what he did, and as Thor walks away, we actually then see Odin turn into Loki, and the question everyone's asking is, so what's happened to Odin? You know, so Loki's death was an illusion. After all this time, he didn't actually die. It was an illusion. The big question is, what has happened to Odin? Where is he? Has he been imprisoned somewhere? I can't imagine Loki would have killed him, so he's probably imprisoned him somewhere. We don't know where. Probably still in Asgard, I would imagine, in one of the prison cells. But I think Loki feels that as long as he can keep that illusion that he is Odin, it'll be interesting to see how the third Thor film will play on that. And then obviously I want to talk about the two end credits, and the first end credit was where we see Sif and Volstagg approach a character known as the Collector, played by Benicio del Toro. I was very surprised to see him, and they're handing over to him one of the Infinity Gems or Infinity Stones, because they've already got the Tesseract in their vault, of which, you know, the Collector's saying, well, why can't you keep it in your vault? And he's saying, well, you know, Volstagg's like, well, we've already got the Tesseract. It's unwise to keep two Infinity Stones in the vault and as close to each other as possible. So when they give this particular Infinity Stone to the Collector, as they walk away, you hear him say, 1 down, 5 to go. And that's like, oh dear, something's definitely happening. And you know that Thanos is obviously, you know, somehow involved as well. And I know with Guardians of the Galaxy coming out next year, there's a big play that Thanos may appear in that film in particular. So again, how well the Infinity Stones are going to play into that film would be interesting to see. And then the second end credit, it's more to do with you know, Thor returning back to Jane, and we even see the big beast from Jotunheim running after pigeons, which was very, very cute. I thought that was pretty humorous. So yeah, I really thought that the film overall was pretty good. Definitely better than the first one. The soundtrack was brilliant. I've played the soundtrack today as well, over and over again, and just absolutely amazing. It sounds really powerful. But yeah, as I say, I thought it was really well done this time round, and I can't wait to see what Thor's play is going to be like in the next Avengers film. Obviously we've got Captain America and, as I said, Guardians of the Galaxy out next year, and then after that Avengers Age of Ultron, and then sometime after that will be Ant-Man, and who knows what's going to come after that in phase 3. So yeah, it's all to play right now. the Marvel universe, the cinematic universe rather, is getting bigger and bigger. Obviously they've announced a deal with Netflix now with 4 characters in particular, including Daredevil and Luke Cage. So yeah, there's Marvel are really starting to grow a bit more, and I know people aren't happy about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., that it's not really what they expected, but I mean, I'm still going to continue to watch it till the end of the season, and I'll still continue to review it as well. It'll be interesting to see exactly how it all falls in place. And obviously one of the next episodes of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is going to take place literally after the events of Thor: The Dark World, so interested to see how those are going to converge together and what sort of elements from the film are going to be shown in the TV show in particular, so we'll see. Anyway, thank you all very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this spoiler-filled review. Leave your comments, let me know what you thought of the film. Obviously the film has just come out in America this week, so that's why I decided to do my spoiler-filled review now. Yeah, leave your comments below and I'll speak to you all later. Bye!